All right, let's start the session. I will be sharing the screen now. I hope the screen is visible. So in today's session, we are going to learn how to actually master the questions that are the true, false, and not given, which comes under the reading module. So the true, false, and not given questions actually requires you to identify a particular information from the text, whether it is true or is it false or is it not given. So you have to remember that for true, false, and not given, the information is always going to be factual statements, and you have to check whether it is aligning from the text, whether it is not aligning from the text, or whether it is humanly impossible for you to know whether it is true or false. And a lot of students, they find the true, false, and not given and match the heading types, the most challenging ones in the IELTS reading module. So we are going to cover the true, false, and not given today. See, in the true, false, and not given, the text will always contain factual information about a topic. Now, what does factual means? That when you will go back to the paragraph to sort of verify whether the information is given or not, you will be able to find it. It is going to be exactly present in the particular passage. But for yes, no, and not given, which is another form of true, false, and not given, these kinds of text, they deal with the writer's opinion, writer's views, or his or her beliefs. So you will have to think through the mind of the writer for these yes, no, not given types of questions. But for true, false, and not given questions, these are factual in nature. So everything is going to be taken from the paragraph, and you just have to locate whether it is true, false, or it is not given. So for true, false, and not given statements, you will be given a set of statements and a text, and your task is to decide which of the following applies to the information in each statement. Now, for true, false, and not given, as there are only three terms that you can go for, you can either tell whether the text is, whether the question is true, whether it is false, or whether it is not given. Now, under which circumstances will we consider that a particular question is a true statement? If the question statement exactly matches the information given in the passage, it is going to be a true statement. If you can read through it and you can understand that word to word, verbatim, it matches, even though after being paraphrased, it is going to be a true or a yes statement. For false or no statement, they will contradict with the information, or they are going to say the opposite of what the information given in the passage is. For example, if I say, come on Monday, it is given in the question that come on Monday, and in the passage says you may come on Tuesday. So there is some slight variation. Okay. Now, in this case also, it is going to be a false statement. And if I say come on Monday at 4 sharp, and if in the question it says that come on Monday anytime after 4, again it is completely opposite to what I mean. At sharp and then at any time after sharp means two different things, and hence in this case also it is going to be a false statement. For not given statement, the route is very simple. You will not be able to find any information pertaining to the questions given. So it is going to be humanly impossible for you to know whether the information is true or false. In these cases, it becomes a not given statement. I hope it is clear. Any doubts so far? Any doubts between true, false, and not given type? Clear? All right. Now coming.
Madam, can you repeat one thing?
Sure. See, there are this particular type of questions like true, false, and not given, or yes, no, and not given. They come in the reading section of the IELTS. Now, students find it very difficult to find the answers for these because always they will use their prior knowledge. For you, the whatever you have, like suppose a person is working in the Amazon and he or she may find that the text has come from the Amazon warehouse. Now, you might have some prior knowledge about Amazon, working in Amazon, but you have to remember that all of your prior knowledge will not be any relevant over here You have to read through the text, and whatever the text says, if the information is completely agreeing with the question, it means it's a true statement. If the question is contradicting with the information in the passage, or even saying something which is slightly opposite, it is still going to be a false statement. And when it is going to be like, there is no mention of that particular aspect in the passage, and there is no possibility that you would know whether the information is true or false. In these cases, the information is not given. So these are the three types of questions that you may get in the true, false, and not given type. And you need to know exactly what true means, what false means, and what not given means. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
All right. Okay. Now coming to the challenges. See, first one is complex wording. See, the statements and the passage in true, false, and not given questions can be complex because they are not given verbatim to you. So if I say I want to head out, and if I say I want to go out, somebody who does not know the meaning of head out might say that the language here is very complex. Might say that, there is no mention of heading out or going out, and they are not correlating. And hence, I don't think so there is any mention of this particular aspect in the passage. But remember, in the passage, there will be a lot of synonyms used. There will be a lot of paraphrasing done. So you have to understand the statements carefully and completely in order for you to be able to understand the question. So it is not the complex wordings. It is always that the information is paraphrased, or you will have plethora of synonyms in place of one another, and that you might find to be a little difficult. But if you will be able to read through it, it is not as difficult as you anticipate. The next is synonyms and paraphrasing. Again, the passage contains a lot of synonyms, a lot of paraphrases, and a lot of keywords. So sometimes what happens is, since you do not find the exact word, you feel that the information is not given. However, mostly only the keywords will remain true. Otherwise, the information gets paraphrased. The question is asked to you in a different language, and you will have to understand it from the passage in order to find the answer. The next is subtle differences. Sometimes what happens is, the only difference between true, false, and not given is just a subtle nuance. For example, if I may say that in India, adults can drive only. Okay, and in the passage it says in India only 18 plus people can drive. Now you have to understand that adults in India are people who are above 18. So it means the same thing. So there is very little difference between a passage getting true and false, and you have to understand these differences. And a lot of students, they fail to understand that, and that is the reason they do not get the desired band score. The next is time constraint. See, these questions, like the true, false, and not given ones, they require you to thoroughly read the question and read the passage in order to analyze it. And definitely, it is going to be time consuming. So, a lot of test takers or a lot of students, they struggle to manage their time. And then, if you have wasted let's say a major chunk of your time, you will not be able to manage the rest of it, and then you will definitely find that the paper is challenging. However, time management is the key for you to be able to answer these questions. The next is distractors. See, the passage always contains information that will seem that it is related to the statement, but it is not. It will not directly answer the question. So do not get confused with the distractors. Try to understand the implicit meaning of the statement, and then you find out the answer. The next is negative statements. For example, some statements like not, never can be particularly tricky to navigate. Test takers must see. For example, in the passage it says, if the classes do not happen for 4 weeks, it may get cancelled. In the question it says, if the classes do not happen for 28 days, it will get cancelled. Now, there's a very subtle difference between may and can. May means it may happen, it may not also happen, but can mean it's a sure shot that it will happen. So very subtle differences, very little words can change the meaning of the whole statements, and you are supposed to listen to it very carefully. The next is inference versus direct information. Inference is what we infer from a particular thing, what we assume, what we understand, what we are able to summarize from a particular text. And direct information is something that you can see from the text. Now, for example, you if there is a particular keyword, that is a direct information because that is something that you can verify. But if there is something that comes as a paraphrasing of the question, it is what you have to infer. So sometimes understanding the difference between inferred information and direct information becomes a challenging task, and students do not feel that they are able to find out the answer. However, with slight little practice, you will be able to find out exactly what needs to be done in order to understand the difference between inferred information and direct information. The next is lack of familiarity with the topic. IELTS में what happens is you will have a plethora of topics, and it is given, like it is sort of pushed to the students that you need to make yourself aware of all the types of questions that might come in the passage. But sometimes what happens is if you are met with an unfamiliar topic, you have no prior information about it, you sort of start panicking, and that becomes another hurdle which needs to be catered towards by doing a lot of mock tests and getting used to different types of questions. The next is language barriers. For people who do not speak English as their first language, some vocabularies and some kind of synonyms becomes a very Herculean task, and they feel that they cannot really understand the question. That is because you're not really practicing in English, and once you start practicing in English, you will always strive at the betterment of your language, and once you better your language, you will be able to understand the exact meaning of the passage without any evident problem. So these were the true, false, and not given questions and challenges. Till now, is there anyone who does not have could not understand anything that you haven't understood till now? Is everything clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, ma'am, would you want to take this one?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. So here is a passage given. So far, ma'am has told what is the strategy, how one should deal with the true, false, not given type questions. What exactly is the basic difference between all the three? So here is a passage given, and there are certain questions related to it. I want you to just have a look, and if anyone can give me the answer, that's appreciated. Let's start with the first question, and I want you to answer the first question. Anyone, even the answers are welcomed in the chat box as well. Before I got an answer, and anyone else? Okay. In that case, let's solve together, okay, each and every question and try to understand what exactly is the things and how we should approach. Now, as already ma'am told you that when do we mark something as true? When the given information exactly matches with the passive statement, although we need to be careful of the paraphrasing and the synonyms. When do we mark something as false? That the information provided is actually present in the passive statement, but it's contradicting, or in the other terms, you can say it's mismatching, or something sounds like it's miscommunicated in that case. Not given is marked when a piece of information is not said by the passive statement, but actually your question is telling that. That's when we mark something as a not given statement. So let's take up the first question. The first question says, in China, spam text messaging is a successful business. Now, first and foremost, I will look at the keywords of the question that is present over here. And it says China. Okay, that's one of the nouns. Spam text messaging, successful business. What exactly I have to verify whether the spam text messaging in China is a successful thing or not. I will look for the keywords in the passage so that I can locate where it is lying in the passage statement. As it started with the very first line, since the answers are going to be in sequence only, I figured out the word spam, I figured out the word China, the two of the most important keywords we have it here. Is aware to their intense annoyance is a roaring trade in China. Roaring means something that is going high and high over the period of time, something that is getting increased only. So here, what this roaring trade means, it's related to the business. Roaring trade means it's soaring, it's increasing, the business is increasing over a period of time. That's exactly what your question was asking. Hence, the answer is going to be a true statement. So those, I got two answers from the two people and those were right. Now, let's move to the second question. In the same formula, I will be figuring out first what are the keywords present in the question. Second, what is question trying to ask. Third thing, what exactly I have to verify from the given question. As it says, people's phone numbers are collected through the use of technology which cannot be readily bought. Now, as ma'am has already stated earlier while she was discussing the tips and the tricks, she already mentioned that challenges one can face. One thing is the negative statement, which I can clearly see in the second question. It says which cannot, but might be my passage can favor this particular statement as well. So the moment I saw the word cannot, I have to take all the possibility into consideration before marking I answer out. What are the keywords? What exactly I have to verify? I have to verify whether the phone numbers that are collected using the technology, it can be readily bought or not. Let's try to figure it out, the particular statement in the question passage part. As delivery men drive through residential neighborhoods in text messaging cars with illegal but easy to buy gadgetry. Now, what they are comparing easy to buy gadgetry with? They are comparing easy to buy means that can something that we can readily bought. Now, here, if you see, it's completely contradicting. The passage is saying easy to buy gadgetry, and here the second question is saying that cannot be readily bought, which makes my statement contradictory, and hence the answer is going to be a false statement. In the same way, can someone answer me the third question? Anyone with the third question answer? Right? Okay. So is it a true statement? Third is true as well. Yes. Okay. It says in no other country do people receive more spam texts than in China. Now, from which line we can confirm this thing? It's in the first line of the second paragraph where we can easily see the answer has been clearly stated. China mobile users get more spam text messages than their counterparts anywhere else in the world. Now, if you look at the way in which the passive statement has been written and the question has been asked, we clearly can see that the questions are paraphrased. They are not using exactly the same word. They are using the synonyms. They have rephrased the statements. But again, what was the concept of paraphrasing? That the meaning of the statements remains unchanged, no matter in what ways you are rephrasing it. Now here, one by one, what exactly I have to verify Is my text talking about the other countries? Is my text comparing that who receives more of the spam text? So here, any counterparts anywhere else in the world, which is somewhere I am going with the no other country. China mobile users get more spam text messages. Okay, more spam text messages in China as compared to the other world, which marks my statement a true one. What about the fourth question? Anyone with the fourth question answer? Okay. Okay. All right. So it says in 2030, the number of spam texts increased considerably to reach at least 300 billion. Okay. All right. Okay, I got the reason. It's more than 300 million. Okay. All right. So they received slightly more than 300 billion of them in 2030. In 2013 was the main keyword, 300 billion was the main keyword. I can easily scan these two numbers in the passage, which will help me to save the time. Now it says what I have to verify whether the number of spam text increased or not in order to reach at least 300 billion in 2030. So what I have to verify whether the spam text messages increased. So what are the other possibilities? It can be decreased, maybe nothing has been mentioned about it, or it remains unchanged. So now when I'm figuring out the answer, I will keep all the possibilities in my head for the respective question, and then I'll move to the question part and I'll figure out the answer. So what exactly I have to verify? Whether the number of spam text messages increased considerably to reach the particular billion, the number in 2013 or not. And as you move to the passage, what does it say? They received slightly more than 300 billion of them in 2030. Slightly more of them is compared to what? It's compared to reach at least 300 billion, right? So they are talking about that the number of text messages that they received was slightly more than 300 billion. What's the question saying? To reach at least 300 billion. Here, one thing it is contradicting. So is my passage talking about the number of spam text messages increased or decreased over the period of time? Is it?
Not given.
Yes, it's a not given answer, Ragesh. Yes, with the reason being the passage has not been talking about whether the number of text messages increased, decreased, or remained unchanged. They just gave the data that 300, slightly more than 300 billions were, like 2013, they received it. That's it. Next question. If we look at the next question, what are the major keywords? It says Shanghai and Beijing, right? Now, Shanghai and Beijing are the two keywords of the question that can easily be scanned in the passage given. Now, here we can easily see Beijing and Shanghai over the slide. What I have to verify now, the majority of all the text received in Shanghai and Beijing are spam. Now, I have to verify from this question whether the majority of the text means it's majority. Now, again, it's a kind of distractor. As ma'am has already mentioned, given you an example. No, majority means most of them, the text received in Shanghai and Beijing are spam. Diving into the passage statement, it says users in bigger markets like Beijing and Shanghai receive 2 a day or more than 700 annually, accounting for perhaps 1/5 to 1/3 of all the text. Right. So here, what will be the answer? Can anyone tell me? Anyone?
Ma'am, false.
Yes. Ragesh, can you give the reason?
I mean, question it is mentioned that majority, but it is mentioned that 1/5 or 1/3. It will not come majority.
Yes. Okay. It's something contradicting. One thing, they are giving you the exact data over there, and they are here saying majority of the all text. So these two things are contradicting, which makes my statement a false one. So the fifth question answer is going to be the false one. Anyone with the last question? It's easy to spot where 2011 is being indicated. Can anyone tell me the answer for 26th question? So what is the sixth question exactly saying? In 2011, Americans sent more text than anywhere else in the world. What exactly I have to verify? I have to verify whether in 2011, the number of texts sent by the Americans were more than anywhere else in the world. This is the means, apart from anyone, Americans were the only ones who have sent the maximum number of text in the world. Let's come to the passage 2011. I can easily spot Americans. We can easily scan in the passage. Let's have a look at the passage statement. Americans, by comparison, received. Okay, one thing they are talking about the word received over here, but what I have to verify, it's about the sending part. An estimated 4.5 billion junk messages in 2011. Okay, but in 2011 they have something given about the receiving of the junk messages. Nothing has been stated about the sending of the messages. Isn't it so? Isn't it so?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So here it comes. From the given passage statement, I can very clearly see that the data for receiving has been clearly provided to us, but nothing has been so far stated about the word sent. Now you might get confused as you move ahead, or fewer than 20 per mobile users for the year out of the total of more than 2 trillion next text messages sent. Now this is something also where they are talking about the sent, but still, even if you take both of the statements, can you give us the confirmation that it was the Americans who were sending more text messages than any other people in the world? Even from the last statement also, we cannot conclude that, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So there are none where I can say from the given passage statement that it can be inferred that the Americans sending the text messages by the Americans were the highest from anywhere else in the world, which brings my answer to a not given statement very clear. So this is exactly the way how we should approach the true false not given question 5. The first and the most important thing that needs to be clear in these kind of questions is that you must know what exactly you have to verify while paying attention to the synonyms, the negative words, and the words that act as a distractor. Once you get understand very clearly what exactly is the meaning of the question, what I have to verify from the passage statement, you can easily solve the questions around. For example, in case of sixth question, most of the students end up writing the answer as a true one, because they just use the word sent here in the last line, 2011 here, Americans here. This literally what we are spotting the words. We are just not trying to understand the meaning, or we don't try invent what exactly the meaning of the question statement is. So this is the most important, or I'd say the crucial step in order to solve these kind of questions. So far, anyone, any questions? Yes, Pratik, please go ahead. Anyone with the questions? Then I guess it's clear to everyone. So what are the strategies that is definitely going to help us to solve these two category of questions that mandatorily comes in your paper? One is to understand the difference between the three of them. So now the simplest thing is true, the meaning is exactly matching. False, the meaning is contradictory, or it's getting mismatched, or I'd say the miscommunicated part. It's as simple as, like, for example, I'm the trainer, or let's suppose Asra ma'am is the manager and Shilpa is a student, right? So as a trainer, I informed the manager that I'll be late for the session by 10 minutes from the scheduled time. Now, Asra, as being a manager, she informed the student Shilpa, please take a note that your trainer will join the session at 4:10 p.m. Or maybe she said like 4:15 p.m. Fine. So somehow I informed I will be late by 10 minutes. That makes it 4:10 p.m. However, it got miscommunicated. She received an incorrect information from her end, and she said the trainer will be joining the session at 4:15 p.m. This is what we call a false communication, or maybe you can simply put forth it like this, that the person was not able to catch it quickly, which marks my statement a false one. Not given is something that hasn't been said by the passage, but exactly your question is stating that thing. That's when we mark it the not given. So you need to be very specific and clearly understand the differences between these three. Because if the differences are not clear, ultimately you are going to struggle with the true false not given questions. Next, read carefully. Pay attention to what your question is asking. Try to understand the meaning. Try to understand the possible synonyms that can be used in your passive statement. Figure out what are the main keywords of the question. Then, for example, if you have a number, if you have a noun, you can easily spot them in the passage. You can easily scan in the passage the main keywords. Once you locate, understand what the question is asking, understand what is the passive statement saying, and according to follow the definition and mark down your answer. Stick to the text. This is actually the most important parameter. Do not bring up your own knowledge or the background information when solving the questions. Never apply something that is happening in the real life to the IELTS questions. Even though, let's suppose the question came, the sun rises from the west, right? And the passage is saying the sun rises from the west also. Please do not mark your answer incorrect or a false statement just because that's a universal truth that the sun rises from the east. So this is what we call bringing up our own knowledge into the passage. So always abide by what the passage is saying. If the passage is saying the sun rises from the west, so yes, the sun must rise from the west. If it says there are 365 days in 10 years, yes, there are 365 days in 10 years. So whatever your passage is saying, those statements, those lines are considered to be true only, and you must answer the questions from that on itself. If your passage is saying the Taj Mahal was built by Akbar, then yes, it has to be built by Akbar. Because why is it so? Because your passage is saying so. So this is again one of the areas we actually unintentionally would bring our own background knowledge to it, and we think about it and we just mark the answer without verifying it from the passage. So make sure that you are not making this kind of mistake. Use the process of elimination. So if you are unsure about an answer, eliminate the options that are false or cannot be determined, and then focus. So here, use the process of elimination. It's in the simple terms. What you can do is that read the question, think about it. Okay, So you will figure it out. Let's suppose most of the confusion happens between false and not given. Now read the passage. Once you read the passage statement very carefully, think about it. Is it because if it's exactly the same meaning, you will quickly get the idea. If it is not, leave the true behind. Focus on false and not given. Try to recall the difference between the definition of false and not given, and accordingly mark down your answer. Manage your time. This true false not given type or yes no not given questions are actually time taking questions, because because they have to be solved in a very logical way. So if you are struggling to find the answer for any of the particular question, do not spend too much time on that. Move ahead, come back to the question later and solve it. Because you can to simply put forth, it's like that. Just to solve one question, do not put your 5 to 6 questions at risk, because somehow your next 5 to 6 questions are going to give you 5 or 6 marks. That will definitely give you a good band score. But if you're wasting your time on just solving one question, that's not worth it at all. So make sure that if you are struggling to figure out the answer, to understand it, leave at the point of time, move ahead to the next question. Simple. Practice regularly, get yourself familiarized with the concepts of true false not given. It's one of the challenging types of questions that do come in your paper. So practice it. You can just take a lot of mock tests. You can just solve it online. You can purchase any of the Cambridge books. You have plethora of materials available. You can just utilize this and solve as many questions as you can. And when you are for every type of question, make sure. Yes, Prateek. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay. So I was saying this thing that just try to practice as much as you can, because yes, indeed, these questions are often time consuming and they create a lot of confusion. So the more you will solve with the strategies, the more you have clearance in your mind, and in a shortest amount of time, you can easily solve these kind of questions. All right. So now this was all about the true false not given concept. Now, anyone does have any other question related to this, please let us know. Anyone? Okay. So, and I guess no. So before we end up, yes, Rajesh.
How will you get the that mock test in reading? So
Rajesh, one thing, we do provide the materials to you, so you can just utilize our materials and you can go ahead with the practice part, right? For that, and we are not going to charge you for anything. So the materials will be provided free of cost. So for that only, you have to enroll into one of our batches so that we can provide the materials to you and you can practice it. And also, we have mentioned this thing. So we will be the batches keep on starting. So if you are interested to join the batches as well as to avail the materials, then surely you can just go ahead with that. We do not charge you anything for the classes, neither for the materials. It's completely free of cost. All you need to do is to make sure that you are available at the time of the session regularly, because IELTS is something that doesn't require you to study for like 7 to 8 hours. But indeed, if you're regular with the classes, getting a regular feedback from the trainer, getting a proper detailed strategies and solving on the mock test and the practice test, definitely you can see a good improvement in your results within a month of the time. Okay, so we will be providing you that thing. If anyone is interested for the classes enrollment, they can let us know and we will help you to connect with one of our team members. Apart from that, the prerequisite to join the sessions is that you need to share your passport details with us, the screenshot of the passport, so that it's a kind of a verification and a confirmation process to begin the IELTS. Second thing, you need to book your slot through us, means the main exam slot through us. That is the second requirement. And for the general candidates, the students who are planning for the general training or planning for the paper of general part, they have to book these slots through us before taking up the classes. So even for a month, they are planning to book the slots after a month, but they have to first book in order to avail the services of the classes. So this is all. So at the end, I would say that what exactly stop us getting from the desired band scores, it's the one, we spend too much time on the internet surfing in order to understand which website is correct, which is wrong, which one to follow, which not to follow. Second, it's the like trial and error method that we follow in order to because one thing, maybe you can, it's maybe you are using the YouTube or maybe you are following any website. It's kind of like of a one-way communication where you are just getting and getting, but you might not be getting the evaluation that you are looking forward to. And unless you get the evaluations, you won't be able to recognize what exactly is the mistake it's happening, why you're stuck at a particular advanced score, why not it's improving over a period of time. So these are some of the reasons that actually prevent you from getting the desired band scores in the first attempt, which makes the students to reappear for the exam. So here, I would at the end say that since we are providing you each and everything, so if you are interested to enroll for our batches, you can let us know. If anyone have any other query, please let us know, and or else we can definitely end the session. Okay, I guess it's a no. So not a problem. So let's connect tomorrow with another topic, and enjoy your day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.